Captain Dane Kessler stood on the upper balcony of Basilisk Reach's command spire, watching the twin suns sink behind the uneven horizon. The colony stretched far below him, dusty factories, half-finished defense towers, slow cargo transports drifting between platforms. Humanity had worked for 20 years to build a foothold here, and still the settlement looked like a stubborn miracle clinging to the edge of a hostile frontier. Dane was proud of this place, but tonight pride was only a small voice in the back of his mind. A heavier voice spoke louder. The voice of responsibility. Basilisk Reach was facing a crisis, and every hour brought new tension. Humanity owed the Carinth Accord a large payment for shared infrastructure, projects, trade ports, jump relays, shielding arrays. The debt itself wasn't the problem. The problem was that the Accord, a powerful alien guild spread across dozens of systems, had suddenly changed the terms. What used to be a simple cooperation had turned into pressure, threats, and an ultimatum that shocked every diplomat in the region. The Accord demanded a marriage. When Dane first heard it, he thought it was some kind of mistranslated joke. He expected the Carinth envoys to smile and correct themselves, but they didn't. They explained with complete seriousness that the debt could be settled if a human representative married a woman they described as a bonded servant from their species. They presented it as an honor, even as a gesture of peace. But everyone on the human side knew the truth. It was a power move, a humiliation, a show of dominance. Humanity didn't want to agree. But the colony was in no position to refuse. A trade war with the Accord would starve the settlement, collapse the economy, and possibly lead to military conflict. Basilisk Reach barely had the strength to defend itself against pirates, let alone a major interstellar guild. So the Human Council did what leaders often do in times of crisis. They looked for someone capable, loyal, and steady under pressure. Someone who understood diplomacy, but carried the authority of a soldier. Someone who would not break under humiliation. They chose Dane Kessler. He didn't argue, though the request burned deep inside. He had fought in the Tethras border conflict, negotiated ceasefires with asteroid warlords, and risked his life dozens of times for the colony. If this marriage meant saving thousands of people, then he would carry the burden, even if it meant tying his life to a stranger under strange terms. He knew nothing about the woman except her given name, Lyra, and the claim that she was a low-status servant. Nothing about her family, her past, or her personality. Just a name, quietly spoken, with no emotion at all. As Dane stood on the balcony, the air grew cooler, and the station lights brightened. Soon his shuttle would depart for the neutral orbital station where the ceremony would take place. He would meet the woman the Accord was offering. He would marry her within hours. And after that, whatever life he had imagined for himself would simply not exist anymore. He heard footsteps behind him. Commander Reeves, his oldest friend, approached with a stiff expression. Reeves was rarely serious, but tonight, even he couldn't hide his concern. "Shuttle is ready," Reeves said. "Council is waiting for you." Dane nodded. "Any new intel on the bride?" "Nothing solid," Reeves said. But the scouts we placed near the Accord delegation noticed something strange. The leaders act uneasy around her. Not hostile. More like careful, respectful. "A slave?" Dane said softly. Reeves shrugged. "Doesn't fit. But the Accord is full of secrets. Maybe they're playing another game." Dane allowed a small, humorless smile. "They always are." Reeves hesitated before speaking again. "Listen, Dane. You don't deserve this. You don't deserve to be a pawn." "None of us do," Dane replied. "But someone has to step forward. Just don't let them break you." "They won't," Dane answered. He followed Reeves through the corridors of the spire. Officers stopped to salute him, but their eyes carried worry. News traveled fast on Basilisk Reach, and everyone knew their captain was about to be pushed into something unprecedented. They wanted to show support, but none of them knew how. A salute was all they had. The shuttle, waiting in the hangar, was sleek and silver, prepared for diplomatic transport. Before boarding, Dane turned for one last look at the colony. Dust storms rolled faintly in the distance. Lights flickered from rooftop to rooftop. Workers moved slowly below, unaware of how close the settlement had come to economic collapse. If his marriage secured the colony's survival, then this sacrifice was simply another form of service. The flight to the neutral station took less than an hour. The station itself hovered like a shining ring against the star field. Built equally by human and Accord engineers long ago, when cooperation between the species still felt hopeful. Now it was merely a silent witness to political maneuvering. As Dane disembarked, he was greeted by a small group of Accord officials. Their skin patterns shifted with iridescent color, a sign of tension in their species. None of them looked him in the eye. One stepped forward and spoke in formal tone. "Captain Kessler, we welcome you. Preparations for the Union are complete." "Where is she?" Dane asked. "You will meet her in the waiting chamber," the official replied. "She is prepared." Dane followed them through the curved hallways. He kept his expression calm, but inside his mind questions turned like gears. How much choice did she have in this arrangement? Was she frightened? Was she resigned? Did she even understand why the Accord had chosen her? A door slid open, revealing a quiet chamber lit by soft blue light. She stood in the center, Lyra. Her posture was upright, almost regal. Though her clothing was simple, her dark eyes lifted to Dane with a calm that startled him. There was no fear in her expression, no bitterness, just a quiet strength, as if she already knew more about the situation than anyone else. Dane expected someone timid or nervous. Instead, she looked like someone who chose her words carefully, someone who observed the world instead of rushing through it. There was something dignified about her that did not match the label slave. He approached slowly. "I am Captain Dane Kessler," he said. "I suppose we are to be partners in this." Lyra studied him for a moment before replying. "I know who you are, and I know what this marriage means for your people." Her voice held no anger, but it held meaning. Dane tried to read her expression. She was controlled, but not empty, reserved, but not resigned. The more he looked at her, the more questions formed not about the marriage itself, but about her identity. Before he could speak again, she added quietly, "I will not be a burden to you, Captain. Whatever role I must play, I will play it." Dane felt an unexpected tension in his chest. She was speaking like someone used to carrying weight, not someone who had been controlled all her life. He gave a small nod. "We will face whatever comes, together." For the first time, her eyes softened, only for a second. Then the door closed behind them, sealing their future. The ceremony hall was quiet when Dane and Lyra entered, guided by the Accord attendants, whose movements were slow and formal. The room was decorated with symbols from both species, soft holographic light for the humans, flowing silver banners for the Accord. It was meant to feel peaceful, but the atmosphere carried a strange weight. Everyone in the hall seemed to be measuring every breath, every glance, every word. Dane stood beside Lyra at the center, where two circles of light met. He kept his posture straight, but he was fully aware of the dozens of eyes watching them. Human representatives stood on one side of the room, looking uncomfortable in ceremonial uniforms. Accord leaders stood on the other side, their shifting skin patterns betraying hidden stress. Lyra stood perfectly still next to him. Her expression was calm, but Dane noticed again what he had seen earlier. She carried herself like someone trained in discipline, not like someone raised in servitude. The slight lift of her chin, the measured breath, the balance in her stance. It all suggested a background far above what the Accord claimed she was. The officiator, an elderly Accord diplomat, raised his hands. We gather to unite two lives. This union seals cooperation, stability, and trust between our peoples. The agreement is witnessed by both councils. Dane could sense the discomfort among the humans. No one believed this union was born from trust. It was born from pressure. But still, the words had to be spoken. Lyra stepped forward when the diplomat gestured to her. She spoke in a soft but steady tone. I accept this union without protest. I will honor its obligations. The diplomat turned to Dane. Captain Kessler, do you accept the terms of this Accord-sanctioned union? I do, Dane said firmly. His voice echoed more loudly than he intended, but it carried the confidence of a soldier who had faced far worse than political theater. The diplomat nodded, touched a control panel, and the circular lights merged. The ceremony ended faster than Dane expected. It was less a celebration and more a contract signing with a few traditional gestures added for appearance. The Accord leaders bowed shallowly. The debt is forgiven, one of them said. Humanity and the Accord move forward in peace. Reeves, standing among the human delegation, raised a brow at Dane as if to say, We'll see about that. As the hall emptied, Dane turned to Lyra. Are you all right? I am, she said. There was no uncertainty in her voice. They were escorted to a quieter chamber afterward, a diplomatic lounge meant for the new couple to rest before any public statements. Once the attendants left, Dane finally felt the tension loosen slightly. Lyra stood near the large window, looking out at the stars. The soft glow framed her silhouette, giving her an almost distant, mysterious presence. Dane watched her for a moment, unsure how to begin a conversation with someone who was now legally his partner, yet still a complete stranger. I'm sorry, he finally said. About all of this. I know none of it was your choice. I replete suit of 17. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. She turned her head slightly. Do you think it was yours? Dane gave a quiet laugh. No. Not really. Then we both understand each other, she said gently. He walked closer but kept a respectful distance. You don't seem afraid. Most people would be, in your position. She looked back toward the stars. Fear wastes energy. I was taught to observe first, to understand the situation before reacting to it. Taught by whom? Dane asked. For a moment, something flickered in her eyes. Hesitation, or maybe caution. Then she answered simply, My caretakers. The answer felt too vague to be the whole truth, but Dane didn't push. An Accord attendant returned briefly with a message. The couple's private suite on the station was prepared. According to tradition, the newlyweds were expected to spend some time alone after the ceremony, not for intimacy, but to allow them to speak freely without political ears nearby. Dane could almost laugh at the thought. Privacy was the last thing the Accord wanted for them. They only followed the tradition because it was ancient and politically sensitive. When they reached the private suite, the door closed behind them with a soft hum. The room was spacious, decorated with neutral colors, and filled with quiet light. A single large window revealed the dark stretch of space, dotted with distant stars. For the first time since arriving, Dane and Lyra were truly alone. Lyra walked to the center of the room and took a slow breath, as if finally letting go of tension she had been carrying. Dane removed the top layer of his ceremonial uniform and set it aside. He didn't sit. He waited. Lyra turned toward him. You are wondering who I really am? Dane blinked. I won't lie. You don't act like any servant I've ever met. That is because I was not raised as one, she said quietly. Dane felt his chest tighten a little. Then why would the Accord present you as one? What are they hiding? Her eyes lowered. That is a longer story than you may expect. But before I tell you anything, I must ask something. Go ahead, Dane said. Do you trust your own leadership? The Human Council? Dane paused. I trust their intentions, not always their decisions. Lyra nodded slowly, as if that answer told her something important. Your leaders agreed to this union without knowing the truth. They think the accord offered me as a political humiliation, but the truth is far more dangerous. Her voice became softer, almost cautious. Do you want to know who I really am, Captain? Dane stepped closer, keeping his expression open, calm. Yes. Whatever you want to tell me, I'm ready to hear it. Lyra shook her head gently. Not yet. If I speak too soon, you may not believe me. You may think I am trying to manipulate you. Try me, Dane said. She looked into his eyes, as if searching his sincerity. For the first time since they met, a crack appeared in her controlled expression. A trace of sadness, or maybe exhaustion. I promise I will tell you everything, she said. But we must leave this station first. Too many ears here. Too many watching us. Are you in danger? Dane asked sharply. Not in the way you think, she replied. But we are being used. Both of us. And the Accord's leaders fear something about me. Something they cannot allow to be known. Dane felt a ripple of unease. You're saying the marriage isn't a humiliation tactic. It is a cover, she whispered. A shield for them. A trap for me. And now, for you. Silence filled the room. Dane took a steady breath. Whatever trouble we're stepping into, we'll face it together. You have my word. For the first time, Lyra gave him a small, genuine smile. It was brief, but warm. I hope you keep that promise, she said. Because soon, Captain Kessler, you will learn a truth that will change everything you think you know about the Accord. Her voice held certainty, and mystery, and danger. The kind that made Dane's instincts sharpen. The kind that told him this union was far from what it appeared. Dane did not sleep that night. Even though the suite was quiet and the lights were dimmed to a gentle glow, his mind kept replaying Lyra's words. A trap for both of them. A truth too dangerous to speak on the station. The Accord fears her. None of it made sense. He sat on the couch near the window, while Lyra rested on the opposite side of the room. She had closed her eyes for a moment, but he could tell she wasn't sleeping either. Her breathing was too controlled, too alert. She was listening to the silence, to him, to everything. Outside, the neutral station drifted calmly through the void, but Dane couldn't shake the feeling that behind the calm surface, layers of secrets were tightening around them. Hours passed before Lyra finally spoke. Captain Kessler, she said softly, her eyes still closed. Tomorrow morning the Accord will request a public statement from us. They will use it to show the galaxy that the marriage is peaceful and accepted. And I'm guessing that's a lie? Dane asked. Yes, she replied. But they need that lie to protect themselves. Dane leaned forward. Lyra, who are you? Truly. Her eyes opened. She sat up slowly, as if preparing herself. For the first time since he met her, she looked unsure. Not frightened, just uncertain how much to share. I want to tell you everything, she said. But it must be done when we leave this station. The moment we are on your ship, away from their surveillance, I will explain my identity. Why such secrecy? Dane asked. Because the Accord Council does not want anyone to know who I truly am, she replied. If they learn that I told you, they will react with panic. Possibly violence. Dane felt tension rise in his chest. If you're in danger, we need to protect you. Her gaze softened. I know. And I believe you would try. But, Dane asked. But the Accord is powerful, she said. And their fear of me, is rooted in a very old wound. 1. He didn't understand, but he could sense she wasn't ready to reveal more. He respected that. She had already shown him more honesty in a day than some diplomats showed in years. Before either of them could speak again, a soft chime echoed through the room. Someone was outside. Dane stood up immediately, instincts sharp. Lyra also rose, her posture straightening into something almost like a defensive stance. Controlled. Grounded. Ready. The door slid open, revealing an Accord attendant holding a silver data slate. "Captain Kessler," the attendant said, "the Council requests your presence in the diplomatic chamber in 1 hour. Your partner may join as well." Lyra did not move. Danny noticed the attendant didn't look at her directly. In fact, he looked past her, as if eye contact was dangerous. "We'll be there," Dane said. The attendant nodded and hurried away. The door closed again. Lyra let out a slow breath. "They are accelerating their plans." "What plans?" Dane asked. "I will explain everything once we leave," she repeated. Dane hesitated only a moment. "Yes." Something eased in her shoulders. "Thank you." When the hour passed and they walked to the diplomatic chamber, Dane paid close attention to the Accord officials around them. Before, he had been focused on the political pressure. Now, he noticed something else. Every official they passed avoided Lyra's gaze. Some moved aside too quickly. Others lowered their heads. Not the way one behaved toward a servant. More like the way one behaved toward a dangerous dignitary. The chamber doors opened, revealing a long table with representatives from both sides. The human counselors sat stiffly, still trying to look cooperative. The Accord leaders appeared calm on the surface, but their shifting colors betrayed unease. Lyra walked silently beside Dane, her expression unreadable. "We are pleased to see you both," said Councillor Vorthen, one of the highest-ranking Accord officials. "Your union ensures peace for our regions. We request that you record a statement to affirm your mutual acceptance." Dane felt irritation rise. "Record now? Without preparation? You only need to say a few simple lines," Vorthen said smoothly. "It will ease tensions." Before Dane could answer, Lyra stepped forward slightly. The Accord officials stiffened. Some shifted their weight. Vorthen forced a polite smile. "Of course, Lyra. Speak." Her voice was calm but carried unusual weight. "A bonded servant does not normally speak in council." Several officials visibly flinched. Vorthen's smile tightened. "This is a special circumstance." "Indeed," Lyra said quietly. "Very special." Silence spread like a slow wave. Dane watched the exchange carefully. Lyra wasn't angry. She was probing, testing, and the Accord leaders were nervous, far more nervous than they wanted to show. Finally, the humans agreed to give the statement. Cameras were activated. Dane placed himself in frame beside Lyra. Vorthen instructed them on the words. "State that the marriage was respectful, voluntary, and accepted by both sides." Dane kept his jaw steady. He hated the lie, but the colony's safety depended on cooperation. He started the statement, choosing his tone carefully, delivering only what was required. Then Lyra spoke. Her voice was soft, but every word felt deliberate. I accept this union," she said, "and I look forward to a peaceful future." The Accord leaders relaxed a little, but then she added, "And I expect all truths to come forward soon, so peace can be real." A thin crack of tension rippled through the officials. It lasted only a second, but Dane caught it. So did Lyra. The recording ended. The officials thanked them and prepared to dismiss the meeting. Dane and Lyra left the chamber side by side. The moment the door closed behind them, Dane whispered, "That last line, was that a warning?" "Yes," Lyra said. "For them." And for me? He asked. Yes, she admitted. They walked back to the suite in silence. Dane didn't push her. He could feel that she was preparing herself for the moment of truth. When they were finally alone in the suite again, she turned to him with a calm, steady expression. Captain Kessler, she said, I am going to trust you. Tomorrow, when we board your ship, you will learn who I really am. Dane nodded slowly. I'll be ready. She held his gaze for a long moment. Her eyes were no longer guarded or distant, they were filled with something deeper, something tired and strong at the same time. You must understand, she said softly. My true identity is the reason the Accord forced this marriage. They believe they can control the danger by binding me to another people. But they are wrong. And once you know the truth, nothing in this region will stay the same. Dane felt his heartbeat steady, as if preparing for battle. Whatever it is, we'll handle it. Her voice softened to a whisper. I hope so. Because the Accord fears me for a reason. And when you learn why, you will understand why this marriage was never about debt. The room fell silent, heavy, with a secret that hovered just out of reach. And tomorrow, that secret would finally be spoken. The next morning arrived slowly, as if the station itself could feel the weight of the secret Lyra was carrying. Dane barely slept, but his mind felt sharp, prepared for whatever truth she planned to reveal. When he opened his eyes, Lyra was already awake, standing near the window. She looked calm, but there was a tightness around her eyes, a quiet tension he had not seen before. Are you ready to leave? Dane asked. Yes, she replied. The sooner we are on your ship, the better. They packed quickly. Dane sent a message to Reeves, asking him to prepare the shuttle at once. Reeves answered immediately. Docking Bay C. Hurry. Dane led the way through the station's long corridor. The halls were strangely empty. Usually, Accord attendants moved here and there, organizing small diplomatic tasks. But now only a few guards remained, and even they avoided looking directly at Lyra. One guard stepped aside too quickly, almost nervously. They know you plan to leave, Dane whispered. They suspect, Lyra replied. But suspicion is not evidence. The Council is careful. They fear mistakes. When they reached the docking bay, Reeves stood at the ramp of the shuttle, armed and alert. His expression tightened when he saw Lyra. You two look like you're walking into trouble, he said. We might be, Dane replied. Let's get off this station first. Reeves didn't argue. He stepped aside, and the three of them boarded the shuttle. Dane took the co-pilot seat while Reeves handled the controls. As the shuttle drifted away from the station, Lyra finally relaxed a little. She sat quietly, hands folded, eyes fixed on the view outside. You can speak now, Dane said gently. No. Accord surveillance. No watchers. Tell us the truth. Lyra took a deep breath. For a moment, she said nothing, as if choosing the exact point where the truth should begin. Then she turned her gaze toward Dane and Reeves. My name is not Lyra, she began softly. It is Lyraith Ve Suran. Reeves frowned. That sounds familiar. It should, she said. It is the name of the rightful heir to the Carinth throne. Silence filled the cockpit like a blast of cold air. Dane stared at her. The princess? The one who supposedly died years ago? The one whose disappearance caused a power shift? Lyra nodded. Yes. That is me. Reeves swore under his breath. Dane felt his hands tighten on the seat. But the Accord told the galaxy you died in an accident, Dane said. The Council lied, Lyra replied quietly. They needed me gone. My existence threatened their plan to seize full control of the Accord. A royal heir stands above the Council. With me alive, they cannot rule alone. Reeves looked back at her with wide eyes. So they hid you as a servant? No. Lyra corrected. They attempted to eliminate me, but loyal supporters helped me escape. For years, I lived in hiding, trained to protect myself. I learned their politics, their weaknesses. I learned how far they would go to silence truth. Dane felt his pulse increase. Why reveal yourself now? Why marry you off to a human? Her eyes hardened, and her voice grew heavier. Because the council found me again. They needed a way to remove me without drawing attention. If they killed me now, too many would ask questions. Too many already doubt their rule. So they disguised you as a low-status servant and forced this marriage, Dane said. That way, if something happened to you, they could blame humans. Exactly, Lyra said. Reeves shook his head. That's twisted. They fear me, Lyra continued softly. They fear what I represent. And they fear the old laws. Dane leaned forward. What old laws? There is an ancient clause in Accord tradition, Lyra said. If an heir marries someone from another species, that species gains political standing equal to the royal house itself. My marriage to you gives humanity a legal voice above even the council. Dane blinked. So, by marrying you, we now have the power to challenge them? Yes, she said. And that is why the council is terrified. They hope the marriage would hide me, control me. But once the truth is known, their authority collapses. Reeves let out a low whistle. So the Accord played themselves. They believe humans won't discover the truth, Lyra replied. But now you know. Dane took a long, steady breath. The weight of the situation settled on him like armor. Lyra, what do you want to do next? Her gaze met his directly. I want to reclaim my identity. But I cannot do it alone. I need allies. I need safety. And humanity. You have something the Accord fears. Independence. You are not part of their political machine. Dane nodded. Then we'll help you. Reeves turned in his seat. This could mean war, Dane. Dane held Lyra's gaze. Or it could mean peace. Real peace. Not forced agreements and threats. Lyra's expression softened with relief. Thank you. Suddenly, the shuttle alarms began flashing. Reeves checked the scanner. His eyes widened. Multiple targets behind us, he said. Accord interceptors. Fast ones. Lyra's face grew tense. The council acted faster than I expected. Dane tightened the harness straps. Reeves, get us to the warship. Trying, Reeves said, increasing speed. But they're closing in. The comms crackled. A cold, sharp voice spoke. Unidentified human shuttle. You are carrying a strategic asset. Cut your engines and prepare for boarding. Reeves cut the channel. Like hell. Dane shifted to combat mode. Lyra, stay strapped in. I'm not afraid, she said quietly. I know, Dane replied. But stay safe. Reeves pulled the shuttle into a tight arc, engines glowing bright. The Accord ships followed immediately, firing small warning shots, light beams meant to disable, not destroy. They're not trying to kill us, Dane said. No, Lyra agreed. They want me alive. For now. Reeves gritted his teeth. 1 minute until we reach the human warship. But at this rate, they'll hit us first. Divert power to rear shields, Dane said. Already on it. The shuttle shuddered as energy beams struck the shield barrier. Light sparked across the hull. Lyra grabbed the seat, steady and composed even under fire. Another hit, stronger than the first. Reeves cursed. If they land 2 more shots like that, we lose shields. Dane turned to Lyra. What happens if they take you? They will hide me again, she said. Or worse. And then humanity loses its chance to challenge them. They cannot allow me to speak. Dane clenched his jaw. Then they won't take you. The warship finally appeared ahead, a large human vessel shaped like a steel crescent. Lights flashed as it activated docking protocols. Reeves yelled, "Hold on." He dove the shuttle forward. Another beam scraped past, shaking the entire craft. Dane shouted into the comm, "Warship, open bay doors now." The warship responded instantly. The docking bay opened like the mouth of a giant machine. Reeves pushed the engines to maximum. The shuttle shot forward. The Accord ships fired one last desperate beam, and the shuttle slid inside the docking bay just in time. The doors slammed shut. Silence filled the cockpit. Reeves leaned back, breathing hard. Lyra closed her eyes for a moment, relief showing at last. Dane removed his harness and turned to her. "You're safe now, and we're not letting them silence you again." Lyra opened her eyes. They were steady, strong, filled with something fierce and determined. "Then prepare yourselves," she said quietly. "Because now that the truth is out, the real fight begins." When the tribunal day finally came, the entire station felt different. The corridors, usually busy with traders and diplomats, were now filled with security teams from many species. Patrol drones floated through the air, scanning every face. The fear of the Carinth Council trying something violent had made everyone alert. Still, there was a quiet excitement too. It felt like history was about to change. Dane walked beside Lyra as they entered the huge tribunal chamber. It was shaped like a circle, with raised seats for the delegations. Floating lights shined down on the center where both of them were expected to stand. Lyra wore her crest again, a small silver emblem that showed her true heritage. Dane noticed how many aliens stared at her with surprise or confusion. The council had hidden her for so long that most species believed she had died years ago. Lyra walked with controlled calm, but Dane could see the tension in her shoulders. She was stepping into danger again, but she was not alone this time. Humanity stood with her. Human diplomats took their places, including Admiral Rowan and Ambassador Hale. They gave Dane a quick nod. Everyone knew things could go wrong at any moment. The Carinth Council elders arrived next. They took their seats with cold expressions, refusing to look toward Lyra. The tribunal leader, a tall crystalline being named Veraxis, struck the platform with a glowing staff. The sound echoed through the chamber, like a bell. The hearing began. Veraxis announced that the purpose of the gathering was to examine Lyra's identity, the Council's political actions, and humanity's involvement. Dane felt hundreds of eyes on him, but he stayed firm, keeping his focus on Lyra. She stepped forward and spoke first. Her voice was steady as she introduced herself with her full royal name. A wave of whispers and shocked reactions filled the chamber. Lyra explained that the council had declared her dead, captured her secretly, and used her as a political tool. She did not speak with anger, only truth. And that truth was sharper than any weapon. Next, Ambassador Hale presented the evidence humanity had collected: holo-recordings, intercepted messages, financial trails, and witness statements from former Accord officials. Every piece connected to one fact. The council had staged a coup and erased the rightful heir from history. The council elders protested, calling everything fake. But their panic was visible. Some of them whispered angrily among themselves, trying to stay composed. Their leader, Elder Ravax, stood and accused humanity of trying to take over the Accord using Lyra as a shield. This was the moment Dane had expected. He stepped forward, calm and clear. He explained that humanity had not even wanted this marriage. It had been forced upon them as a form of mockery. Yet despite that, humans had treated Lyra with respect. They had protected her once they learned the truth. They had chosen honesty over fear. Many delegates murmured in agreement. Humanity's reputation had always been unpredictable, brave, stubborn, loud, and sometimes too bold. But now, that boldness worked in their favor. Veraxis turned to the council elders and demanded a direct explanation for the evidence. Elder Ravax began speaking. But before he could finish, the chamber lights flickered. A sudden alarm echoed through the hall. The council was making their move. Outside the windows, several Carinth warships were powering their weapons. They had come to silence the tribunal and seize Lyra again. Delegates panicked, and guards rushed to protect their leaders. But humanity had planned for exactly this. Admiral Rowan stood up and tapped her wrist device. At that moment, the human fleet, hidden behind the outer ring of the station, activated their jamming systems. Energy waves pulsed through space. The Carinth warships flickered, their targeting systems collapsing. Engines shut down. Weapons went offline. The delegates stared in awe. The council elders froze. Their attempt at force had failed in seconds. Varaxis struck the staff again and declared the council guilty of multiple crimes. Security teams moved in to arrest the elders. They did not resist, they knew it was over. The chamber slowly calmed, but the air felt completely different. Something huge had just changed. Lyra stood there quietly, almost overwhelmed. Dane walked beside her, and she finally released a small breath of relief. Varaxis approached her and bowed, announcing that she was officially recognized as the rightful heir. The entire chamber followed, showing respect she had not seen in years. But then something unexpected happened. Lyra placed a hand on Dane's arm and spoke softly to Varaxis. She said she did not want to restore the old system. She believed the Accord needed new structure, new fairness, and new leadership shared by many species, not just her own. She did not want power for herself. She wanted peace and stability. Varaxis listened carefully and then asked who she trusted to help build that new future. Lyra looked at Dane. Dane froze, shocked. He had never imagined himself in any political role, let alone something like this. But Lyra explained that humanity's honesty, bravery, and refusal to bow to injustice proved they deserved a voice. The chamber agreed. A new Accord Council would be formed, with multiple species sharing leadership, humans included. It was a huge moment for humanity, which had always been treated as newcomers in the galactic stage. After the tribunal ended, Dane and Lyra walked through a quiet corridor. The tension of the last weeks was finally fading. Lyra thanked him, not as a princess, but as someone who finally felt safe. Dane told her that humanity didn't protect people because of their rank. They protected them because it was right. Lyra smiled, a real smile, warm and unguarded. For the first time since he met her, she looked free. Months later, the new Accord Council was formed. Humanity played a major role, and Lyra became a guiding voice rather than a ruler. The old council fell into history, remembered only as a warning against corruption. Dane continued serving in the diplomatic corps, but now he worked side by side with Lyra. Their marriage had begun as a debt payment, a strange political trick. But it had turned into something powerful, a symbol of cooperation and trust. People across the galaxy told the story of the human who protected the lost heir and helped reshape an entire alliance. Some called it luck, others called it destiny. But for Dane, it was simpler. He had just done what humans always did, stand up when it mattered. And that was enough to change the galaxy forever.